Welcome to Vanesa Miksa, our guest on this week's episode. She is joining us as a flight training instructor and human factors engineer at Boeing and president of Women Aviation International at Daytona Beach chapter. Thank you for joining us. It would be great if we get some words about who you are, what you do, and why you decided to join us today.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me. Super excited to do this. I work at Boeing as a human factors engineer right now in the future flight deck product development part of Boeing. And yeah, I'm also the president of Women Aviation in Daytona Beach, and I'm also a pilot flight instructor, so part-time. I'm excited to be here.
Amazing. It would be great if we could start just how you got here, because I know you were born in Serbia, but you obviously work in America. And so what was the journey like from you getting from Serbia to America?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty complicated. My parents went to America in 1991, so they stayed there, they worked there, they got their paperwork there. So as a result, my sister and I also got the American citizenship back in the 90s. So that's kind of how we got there. But we were moving back and forth. So I went to school a little bit in America, and then I came back to Serbia for my from first to basically secondary education. When I graduated, I was 18. And I went back to college in the US. And I went to medical initially. So my first career was medicine. I got my bachelor's in New York City at Hunter College, so University of New York, and then went to medical school. Well, took the MCAT, went to medical school, and a year in, I really just didn't want to do it. I never wanted to do it. It was really my immigrant parents kind of putting me into it. So I told my mom, I'll finish, I'll graduate, but
Not what you want to do.
yeah, after that, I'm just gonna go do my pilot license. Just basically saying, hey, I can do it, and I will do it. But I'm just going to switch careers and become a pilot. Like I can be a doctor pilot, that's fine. It wasn't bothering me that I would waste 6 years of medical school. It was okay. And my mom, I guess she just had a change of thought or something, and she was like, "No, just finish your year." So I told her this in the middle of a semester, third semester, which was like the end of a year in medical school. And she said, well, you can either leave now, which was like November, and I graduated in December for the year, or you can just wait to leave in December. So for me, I was already I was an ambassador at that school. I had like a scholarship for that school, and I just didn't want to kind of throw that all away.
Yeah.
So I waited to kind of graduate that year in medical school, and I went and did a voluntary sign out, which means that you can go back within 10 years and finish the medical school.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that kind of was good for me, just in case I did go
So
on
the
my
backup.
first flight ever and realize, oh my God, I cannot do this. But that wasn't the case. So I finished on 2019, December. That year I signed out. Nobody at my medical school was that happy.
So you could always still go back.
Yeah, you can go back.
Even
So,
now, like you could just return.
yeah, you have within 10 years to complete
Amazing.
the doctor's program.
I mean, it's good to always, I guess, have a backup, but I don't think
Yeah.
you're ever going to go
No,
back.
thank God, right? Like I'm so far ahead in aviation that I just could never go back. But
Yeah.
so that was December 2019, and then I guess it was February 1st just 2 days before February, I packed my bags from New York, packed everything in my car, everything I had in my car from my apartment in New York, and drove from New York City to Florida, which is about 12, 15-hour drive. I didn't know anybody at my flight school. I didn't know anybody in that city, Daytona Beach, Florida. I knew absolutely nobody there, not even one single person. All I knew is that that's the best school in the world, and I want to be the best pilot. So the name of the school was Phoenix East Aviation, and it was a big, pretty big Part 141 school.
Yeah.
And I started my journey there, everything from zero to flight instructor. And they've been more than good to me. So I was really happy with that.
Do you think that there was I mean, obviously there's a massive change between medical school and
Yeah.
pilot school, but is there anything that you had like a transferable skill that you found that as a person helped you in medical school that has kind of transferred into
Yeah.
Boeing?
Yeah. I mean, what transferred from medical school to not even just flight school, but was really life, like how after the third semester of medical school, I knew how to study at an incredible point. So I would spend so much time in my first semester, day and night, rewriting stuff, reading, memorizing stuff. And it was like a recipe for failure. And I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Like that's what I did for 2 bachelors, for my pre-medical, for my MCAT. And then it was like, only reason I changed that is because I almost failed one semester. And I was
Mm.
like, well, this is not working. How can I be studying 24 hours day and night and not passing? So what I did is like I actually got help. So I got tutors,
Mm.
and one of them told me to, hey, use this new system, this new computer program that will help you memorize everything really fast. And when I got that program, I was able to memorize everything within hours a day
Oh wow.
and then go to the actual questions in medical school. And I went to being one of the top persons in school.
And is that like, do you, I guess you use that now as well with
Yeah,
anything that you learn? You just have
yeah,
that. Do you use
yeah.
the program still, or is it now like a second
I use the
muscle
program.
memory,
I use
muscle
the
memory thing?
program, but what it taught me that if you can study the chapters how much you want, if you don't go into the questions that they give you, and if you don't look at every answer and why is it right and why is it wrong, you're never
Yeah.
gonna be the
It
top
doesn't
student.
absorb. It doesn't
Yeah,
absorb
it
into it. Yeah.
doesn't. Like you have to think about it and really like eat, eat, sleep, everything, that whatever topic it is. And that's the only way that I realized I was like, wow, like I can study anything. If I can do this
I can do
and I can
anything.
pass this and I'm like in the top percentile, like what can you not do? It was just like, I mean, it took me 30 years to like actually get there
Mm.
in education. So to me, I took everything I got from there, like that discipline
Yeah.
to like
Yeah.
I had a schedule. Like I did not. I woke up at 6 in the morning and I didn't finish till about 11 p.m. But I also didn't move from my chair. So it was like I studied for 50 minutes, 10-minute break, but I was on timers the entire day. And that discipline
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in flight school was insane. Like I managed to do everything in very little time that people never seen, but that's because I had that discipline. I was like study 50 minutes, 10-minute break, only 1 hour break for lunch, and go back and do it again and again, again,
Quite
again.
militant, I guess, to make sure that you
Very,
have to do everything. It
very,
becomes
but
your life, I guess. You have a
right?
whole new outlook on life when
Yeah, and that's hard to do because nobody's pushing you. It's just
you're pushing
you.
yourself. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess also that I think obviously people that end up in medical school and doctors or anything to do in that field are that disciplined. Like you don't want to have a doctor that's
Yeah,
not militant about like your health or what they do, but the same way I guess it transfers to pilots. Like you don't like you're in a plane and your life's in their
yeah,
hands. You want to know that the person flying you is that disciplined, that militant, that
exactly.
they know everything. You mentioned about the P41 school, Par 41 schools. Is that something you knew about before? Is that something that you knew from medical school?
Yeah, no. So I didn't know that at all. There's two different type of schools in America. So it's Part 61, one is Part 141, and it all has to do with kind of the code of federal regulations and how
Hmm.
they're structured in America. So the Part 61 is you're gonna get at the end the same pilot license, but the Part 61 is a lot more kind of free. You
Hmm.
still have to do everything in the bullet points for that license, but it's not that structured. So today, if I want to come in with my student and do systems, I can do systems for like a month and then jump to something unrelated and go back.
Yep.
But for Part 61, you will know in advance
Very rigid.
exactly
Yeah.
what you're studying, exactly what's in the flight. Sometimes on Part 61, you're going to go on a flight and it's just like, I don't know what we're doing today. We might do landings or we might do maneuvers. But the Part 61, you have to do what it says there in the flight. And they will actually, in the computer, they will have to check that you completed every single thing. So,
Okay.
yeah, and if you
Yeah.
don't complete it, they will actually uncomplete you
And you have to start from the beginning, I
and you
guess.
have to do it again. Yeah. And that's something that's not in Part 61 school. So the Part 141 a lot more structured and everything, and that's where it comes with the visa too for international students as well. So
Yeah.
they get the F1 visa because they're more structured, and the U.S. government allows them to have, well, gives them permission to give a student an F1
Oh,
visa.
so you mean so the F1 visa is given to students through the school, or is it
It's through
that,
the school, yeah,
okay, amazing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so if someone was to come like an international student, they'd apply to the school and then the school would apply for them, or do they have to apply to both the
I
US
think
government?
so. I don't know exactly the procedure, but once you pick the Part 141 school, and you probably would have to Google this, like Part 141
Mm.
schools in America, and you talk to them, to the admission officer, they're gonna go through it. So it might even be some other visa before that, but you end up at least with a F1
Yeah.
visa that allows you
And
to
is that tied
stay.
with the school, I guess?
Yeah, so I just stay, but also will allow you after you finish to work for another year or a year and a half
Oh,
with the
okay.
school. And that's where really the money comes in that you're going to spend in that school. Like, because
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
getting paid for the flight instructor and you're getting the hours. So when you finish that whole thing, you're ready to go to the airlines.
And then I guess you have the year of like a buffer where someone would hire you,
Yeah.
and then they have to apply for your actual work visa once that
So no,
expires.
you will get hired by that same flight school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that flight
Oh,
school
it's
will
basically
hire
then you
you.
like you guarantee that if you
You're
pass
pretty
and
much
stuff, you
guaranteed.
guaranteed a job.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
is it then that most people do that? They'll stay with the school that they
yeah,
trained and get
exactly.
hours before they become like if
Yeah,
they were to apply to like a airline carrier or something like that, they'll finish there and then they'll apply, or is it?
exactly. So the airline carrier, they know these schools very well.
Yeah.
So they know Embry-Riddle, they know Phoenix East Aviation, they know another one called ATP. They're big schools and they know who they're taking from there. So they know I'm
Oh,
taking one of the best pilots in the world.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
they're not going to question anything. You're basically almost in.
So I think that's, I mean, obviously someone who knows aviation through like the peripheral vision
Yeah,
of it. Um, I didn't realize, like, obviously, even with medical school, I know you kind of don't always get to choose where you go, but they have kind of
exactly.
connections with hospitals and stuff where you
Yeah.
could go. But it makes sense that I guess that the school that trains you would have partnerships with potential aviation airlines that you would
Yeah,
work
and that's
with.
that's a great point. These schools, they actually do have the partnership. So they
Yeah.
will come to your school and be like, "Hey, do you want to be a cadet?" And you basically
Yeah.
just sign up. It's really nothing. You just sign up and you're like, "Oh, I'm a United Airlines aviator." I think that's one of the programs called.
Yeah.
And actually, United will give you free flights.
Oh,
And
amazing.
yeah, they'll bring you to different places that they go to, like conferences, and they show you, "Hey, this is our aviation cadet at United."
It's a very fun career. I think even like it's grueling, obviously, and militant at the beginning, but you kind of get then excited about potentially being a pilot
Yeah.
through this like buddy partnership program where
Yeah,
they give you like a little insight sneak peek of
exactly.
what the life is like. I mean, I guess is it? Do you think that it's that thought out and structured in the US? Are there massive differences with like Europe and the rest of the world, or is it just because the US and their visa system and their schools are set up like that that that's
Mm,
why it's done?
like as a part 141
Or
or
like the
just
whole process of like the schools are so well known that they already partner with potential airlines that someone who basically starts pilot training or private pilot training once they reach all the licenses
yeah.
and certifications and get the hours that they're basically almost guaranteed
Yeah,
a
yeah. And
job.
actually, so when you get into like the United Aviate program, you do a little interview for them and they almost guarantee that you're going to go into their regional carrier. So it goes first to regional where you're flying like smaller airplanes
Mm-hmm.
like Embraers or something for and you stay there for a couple of years, then you go to the big United
Long
airline.
haul like
Yeah.
international carriers, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's when you're gonna go fly the 737s and all the bigger ones, more than that, or A320s, whatever they fly. But it's almost it's easier because if you interview at very low hours, you're just like a instrument pilot or
Yeah.
commercial pilot or flight instructor. You interview then, it's a lot easier interview than when you already have 1,500 hours
Yes, yeah.
and you completed all of your minimums and then you go to an interview. It's gonna be a lot more complicated. We'll ask you more questions.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's a little bit of a benefit to like go
And
there.
start from the beginning and basically have your
Yeah.
entire career sort of shaped but also mentored by one of
Yeah,
these
and they
airlines.
will mentor you. You're gonna have a pilot mentor. They're gonna email you. They're gonna ask you, "Hey, how are you doing? How many hours you have?"
Education and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Interesting. And so you said this, so the Par 141, is there other types of licenses or like are most schools Par 141s?
No, so only probably a handful to a very little of them in America are Part 141 because it's a very complicated process for the school
Mm-hmm.
to get Part 141. So the school would have to go through everything from how many exits the school has to how many
Oh,
like seats in a ground school. Ground school just means a class. And that's a lot of money for a flight school to spend to just kind of get just normal federal regulation stuff or literally a fire exit like that you wouldn't
make or
get your
breaks whether you get that Par 141, I
it
guess.
will break it. Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
And there's certain stuff like right you're gonna get that F1 visa but also if you don't comply with it um like your students don't comply with it then you also can potentially lose that F1
Just a
visa
lot
as a
of
flight school.
risks, I guess, for not necessarily that much gain from them. Like I see the
Yeah,
value that obviously is they'll bring a wider range of international people to their schools and
yeah,
they must have a lot of competition because everyone wants to get in that's
yeah.
international.
And honestly, yeah, everybody's gonna want to come there, but they do have the capacity for a
Yeah.
lot of. You're never not gonna get in.
Okay,
So
okay,
you're always
good.
gonna get in. You're gonna get your flight instructor, and the flight instructor, because usually they are also international, they have to go home and they know they're gonna go home. They're gonna like really sit day and night
With
and
you and
instruct
yeah,
you, yeah, and they want you to pass, right? So,
yeah,
so the way it works in America, when you're a flight instructor, you need a high passing rate, which means that your student needs to pass at 80% or more for you
yeah.
to become like there's a thing called the Gold Seal flight instructor.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
there, someone else's success, like a student's success is dependent on your
it's
success as
100%
well.
on mine. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
So if they
Okay,
fail, like my rating as a flight instructor
drops.
just completely
So it's like an
drops.
Uber driver, basically.
Yeah,
Like if the trips
yeah.
aren't that great, the rankings go
Yeah, but
down.
that's how the FA ensures that you're not just messing around with this person.
Yeah. The
You want
standards are
them to
really high
pass.
because
Yeah.
also later on in life they'll probably fly people
Yeah.
and like massive amounts and international. So it's a very regulated area anyway to work in.
Yeah, yeah. So that also means that even if you might not be that good in school, you don't know what you're doing, you're literally 17 and came from, I don't know, India, you don't speak English that well, came to the US, first time without your mom and dad, first time without everything, you're in a new country, your flight instructor is going to be, they're going to be your everything, really.
Yeah, yeah,
Your
yeah.
mom and dad, what are you doing? What are you studying? When are you coming to school? They will guide you basically really through every single thing. They'll help you. And also the flight schools too. They know you're coming to
Yeah.
America, especially for international, and you don't know anybody. They're gonna help you get your
Like assimilate, I guess, a little bit better.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Like your apartment. They're gonna
Oh
introduce
wow.
you to new friends because there's so many people starting at the same time as you. So you're gonna have your first
Like they create a community so everyone feels welcome. And again,
yeah.
if everyone's success is dependent on each other's success, like
Yeah.
it's sort of you work as like a team rather than individualism.
Yeah, you're almost like forced in a good way to
Yeah,
work
yeah, yeah.
as a team. So and that's the reason why these flight schools like they have to maintain a high passing rate.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's another reason why they kind of probably have the F1 and why the F1 visa, the Part 141 code and everything, that whole thing is because they do have to maintain that
High
rate to
high
be high
levels. Yeah.
passing. Yeah.
And do you find that a lot of people, once they finish like the pilot training schools, whether PAR 141 or 61, do they stay in the States? Because obviously there's partners, or is there a lot of people that would just go back home or work with like Europe, or is that
Yeah,
not
it
allowed?
depends, right? Like if they're American, they're obviously going to stay here,
Yes, yeah.
stay in the US and really never leave because even the international students, they want to stay, but that's
Yes,
not
yeah.
possible really for internationals. There are some ways, like if like for example, if Phoenix East really likes you and you did really good, they can bring you into like our more administrative flight administration part, and they can potentially sponsor a visa for
Mm-hmm.
you. They will do it, but then you're also kind of bound to that school
Tied to it. Yeah,
for
yeah.
a lot of years. So you would have like probably 4 or 5 thousand hours and been there for 10 years just to get your green card visa. But again,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
that's probably if you don't want to go back home. That's
That's
just
the
kind of
option.
yeah,
Yeah.
one way. Yeah.
Okay. Weź, weź. 12. A,
Oh, we gotta cut it.
mislim, ću samo pitati... Čekaj. Prišli smo u školama. Možda samo da se zaokruži kao neko što je došao koji su kao advantages, disadvantages, and if there's any like what advice, maybe the next question would be like, and what advice would you give to people that are applying internationally, whether from Serbia or like that want to go? Like you said, what you said, like
Yeah.
just message anyone that you probably know, or like if there's community set up, if there's schools like that. Like you said
Yeah.
when you messaged that on your
Like
call
I didn't
group.
even know there were like women aviation stuff, so you
Yeah, but
wouldn't even know.
let's
Yeah.
discuss that.
Yeah.
Let's discuss that.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It starts off very like intense because obviously it's such an unnatural. When you and I just talk like this, you know that you're not being filmed. But the minute they're like action, you're like,
I know.
Jesus
Same.
Christ.
Same.
I wish they wouldn't tell you. I wish sometimes they'd be like, just start recording me. Don't tell me
Yeah.
you're recording and we'll pick up and let's see what makes sense.
A stress.
It was good. I think it's good. Raymond, this is the first ever podcast I've ever done in my life. So
Yeah, this is my first podcast. So I'm like, really? Oh wait, should we take a photo? Let's take a photo. Wow.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were taking photos. I'm just like drinking. Kako izgleda, kako zvuči? Interesantno. Ima ritam. Ne, je li interesantno teme? Okay, super. It's good. Like I said to Vanessa, sometimes I wish he wouldn't say action, just start recording.
Yeah.
Because I'd say for the first 10 seconds when you're aware that the camera switched on, I'm just like, ah. And then when you forget,
Yeah.
and also I have really intense eye contact, so sometimes I'll force myself to not look at you whilst you're talking,
Yeah.
but I'm really interested in what you're saying. And I don't want it to feel like I'm staring down at her while
But this
she's talking.
podcast, like, depending how you write it, this is for any international student. So anybody who's
Yeah.
going to want to go to US, they're going to have to like kind of get to know this whole process
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
visa and the school. So
Like
you might get a lot of views if you like write it right.
No, I think also we don't necessarily like obviously aviation is what you're talking about, but I think a lot of people just don't know the process of how even like what is an F1 visa.
Yeah.
Like for Serbia specifically, like the Balkans, if we're thinking about this area in Serbia, but you've got Croatia, we've got Bosnia, you've got Macedonia.
Everybody's like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, how would you know you can go to flight school in America?
Yeah.
There's no way.
But like you said, the only reason, what was her name? Katarina was there yesterday. She was like, the only reason she knows about anything about aviation is her dad flies for Air Serbia. So unless you're, like I joked yesterday, the only reason I know about aviation really a lot is because my father and grandfather just constantly talks about it.
Yeah.
If your parents are like in business or
you're never gonna know.
agriculture.
Yeah, like my grandparents' agriculture, like
Yeah,
my
you
mom's
never
a
know.
Queenie lady. She has like no clue.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't even go to school. Like only finished barely ekonomska school and here.
But I think it's also the difference between like you as an individual who are like, I really want to do this, to someone's like, I don't know. Zadnje pitanje će biti pitanje samo kao, what is your advice for international students? And that will probably take kraj da bude pola sata. Jel možda bude pola sata epizoda? Mislim da je ovo baš dugačko ovako jednako. Znači imamo još 10 minuta. Je vaš? Može, može. Može.
To što reći od mene, mogu samo te dopunim vodu, ili tebi nešto sjetno?
Ne treba, hvala.
Kad smo već preklinuli.
Hvala.
Super, ne. Ti možeš i sam, ne? Kaže, imaju firmu, budi gazda, budi direktor, što ne sipaš vodu. Ajmo svi na svoje mesta.
I forgot what we spoke about before this.
Može.
I forgot. That's great.
It's okay. So, and I think then to finish up, maybe my question would be, what advice or what suggestions would you have to any international students that either want to be in aviation in America or just want to go and study in America?
Yeah, I mean, in America, you just really would kind of your first step is to Google Part 141 schools and see which one it is. So what you would do is just call them or email them. And the schools they're actually dying for you to go.
Okay.
Because you're paying a lot of money to them, right?
Yeah.
These schools, they do cost a lot. So I think the whole school from nothing to big flight instructor there, which is like 6 licenses, it will cost you probably around $60,000 or something like that. So it's a lot of money, right? So you are their most VIP customer.
Yeah.
So when you contact them, they will contact you back.
Yeah.
And they will give you more information. So
I'm guessing they're very helpful because like you say, they want you to come.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the moment you contact one school, you contact the other one and the other one, they're all going to want you there and they're going to give you all the information you need, right?
So rather than sort of you applying and wondering, do they want me? Do they not? Am I going to get it? They're going to be chasing after you.
They're going to be chasing after you for sure. They're gonna want you. If you know somebody, they're great. But like I said, like I didn't know anybody. I just chose the best school in the world, and I did a little research on like a month or two. Which one is that? You know,
that's very quick. A month or two to decide like what the rest of your life.
Yeah, but that's all I did, right? Like I asked multiple questions. I called all the schools.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be, for example, I wanted to be in Florida because it's good weather. And I know I can go every single day and fly.
Yeah.
Versus in New York, where I also want to go to flight school. I knew that there's no way I'm going to fly when it's snow, when it's cold, it's rainy, it's bad weather. No way. So that's another thing that you need to like think about, like where am I going? And Florida is definitely where you want to go. There's a billion flight schools in Florida, and there's a lot of Part 141. So you want to just really take it one by one, contact them, email them, They will email you everything back. They'll call you. They have WhatsApp, they're going to
Oh,
WhatsApp
really?
you.
They're very, it's a lot, it's like open communication, super
It's open
transparent.
yeah. And your admission officer, they're going to do everything to bring you in, right? They're going to help you with the flight, with the visa. They'll send you the package. Really, everything is going to be on them. You just have to say,
I'm interested.
I'm interested. This is my choice. And they will bring you in. So
Amazing.
It's going to be really pretty easy.
It's not that hard then, I guess.
No, it's not.
Probably the first step and the hardest step is to figure out where you want to go, what you want to do, and then just start emailing and just wait for emails to come back. And then that's already the ball's already rolling, I guess.
Yeah, and for all of these Part 141 schools, like they have admission officers. They have a lot of them. They have 3, 4, 5 of them. And they're just sitting there all day in their office waiting for somebody to contact. And they're like, wolves. They're going to get you.
It'd probably be annoying a bit too much that you're like, I don't really know what I want to do yet.
Exactly.
Stop.
But that's where you go and ask them, okay, what's the process? What do I need? I need to go get a medical, for example. Like some of these schools are not going to let you in until you get your medical license. So you're going to have to pass something at home to make sure.
To prove that you're past medical, basically. Interesting.
Yeah, but then you come to America and do it again. Because you need an American one. But there's things like that they're really going to help.
And they'll just tell you, I guess, it's like a checklist that they'll be like, you need to do this, this, and this before you even think
They might even pick you up from the airport, depending like how good you are with admission officer. Like I personally, I don't know anybody. When I drove down, my admission officer was like, oh, you can just stay at my place. I had a mutual friend with him from New York.
Yeah.
And I guess that guy, he's really tricky. He went and contacted that guy that I knew. He's like, oh, you know this girl? I was like, yeah, I know her from New York, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, cool. She's coming to my flight school. So random.
Come stay at my house.
Yeah, and he let me stay there for like 2 days. And
that's really good. That's
yeah,
really
I became
nice.
friend. I'm like, he's literally my best friend now. His name is Mila. He's from Egypt. And he's really my best friend. And we've been I saw him every day for like a year and a half or 2 at the flight school. So we, knows my family.
Like that was your like support circle, I guess, when you started.
Yeah, like he was basically the only person I knew, the only support. And then his friends, which all like, he's Egyptian, so all his Egyptian friends were always together. And you will see different groups of people. All the Asian people will be together, all the Indian people will be together, all the Norwegians together. But everybody kind of comes together at the end, and we all. Fly
as a group, as a group team. Yeah.
So it's really fun.
Amazing. Well, I think that's it for this week. Thank you so much for
you.
joining us. It was really, really interesting. And I mean, like I said, I knew a little bit about it, but maybe I'll go off and apply.
Yeah, and there's more to that, but this is kind of like we're like
a good introduction to
it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.